Met her on a Friday, thought she seemed alright. By Saturday morning, there was already a fight. Phone blowing up every minute of the day. Looking for a reason to be angry anyway. Checking every comment, checking every friend, turning every little thing into the end. Life's too short and the mountain's calling back. Sorry, baby, I got no time for that. I'm not your therapist. I'm not your referee. I'm not gonna spend my life living in insanity. No time for that. No room for the drama. No time for that. I ain't calling your mama. No time for that. Got a life to attack. When the crazy train arrives, I'm stepping off the track. Yeah. No time for that. No time for that. No time for that. No time for that. Every conversation turns into a test. Nothing that I do is ever good enough, I guess. Walking through a minefield every single day. One wrong word and everything explodes away. Trying to build something, trying to move ahead. You just want another argument instead. Got fresh snow waiting in a backpack packed. Sorry, baby, I got no time for that. Saw her at the tavern with a smile so bright, but a fight tattoo shining underneath the lights. No, but Joe took one look and laughed to himself, put his drink down slowly and grabbed something else. He'd seen that movie and he knew the plot. A whole lot of chaos wrapped in what you gotta know. Hard feelings, baby, hope your day goes great, but your heart wanted bells and chose a different fate. Maybe she's an angel, maybe she's alright, but Joe's not rolling dice on another sleepless night. No time for that. No room for the drama. No time for that. I ain't calling your mama. No time for that. Got a life to attack. When the crazy train arrives, I'm stepping off the track. No time for that. 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 Life is hard enough already. Don't need another storm to chase. I'm looking for some peace and quiet, not another courtroom case. Take your games and take your baggage. Take your endless overreaction. I'm headed for the open highway, far away from all the action.
What's up, guys? Thanks for coming in. Try to get a few other things squared away. Subscriber-made music right here. We're going to be doing a lot more of these. Definitely one a week. All right. So we're going to talk about teachers, modern education, how all that's going. Our current state of education is pretty cooked. A lot of the people are kind of half retarded. Is some of it just from TikTok brain? Yes. Is some of it from bad parenting? Probably mostly. It's probably 70% bad parenting, 30% bad teaching. But we are just allowing it as a society. I'm going to look up some stats here for United States education stats. A lot of these people can't really read. So we'll look at some basic stats here right now in Google here. Okay. Just as a quick Google search, United States education stats. Education stats in the United States span across public funding, student enrollment, global performance benchmarks, and overall adult educational attainment levels. Primary official data tracking is conducted by the U.S. Department of Education and National Center of Education Statistics. So these stats will be cooked because on the world stage, we are not the smartest people. We think we're the smartest. Yep, Whiteout first comment in here. Welcome, welcome. Make fun of Teachers Day. Well, they may see this because they're not at work now. So these stats are always skewed. I mean, they're always in the favor of the Department of Education and whatnot. But I just want to go through it first just to look at it. Okay. Data from the U.S. Census Bureau tracks the highest level of education completed by adults aged 25 and older. 94% basically hold a high school diploma or equivalent. 44.5 have completed a bachelor's degree or higher. 40% of women hold at least a bachelor's degree compared to 37%. See how they like to try to toss men under the bus even already right here. Yeah, who also holds the most student debt? So we'll also get into that too. 6.1 of the working population does not have a high school diploma. And a lot of this 6.1% is actually doing really, really, really well. Kindergarten through so K through 12 schooling and enrollment. The vast majority of American students are educated within the public school infrastructure. We'll call this the public fool system because that's what we're creating here. Institution. The landscape includes roughly 98,500 public schools and over 30,000 private schools. Student body. Public K through 12 schools serve approximately 49.6 million students alongside 3.2 million full-time teachers. Private sector. This is where the better schools are that are really expensive right here. Private schools account for roughly 4.7 million students, representing about 9% total combined K through 12 enrollment. So this is where we get into the waste here. Public education spending per pupil has risen to historic heights, and we're stupider than ever. We're not more educated and competent than ever. It's really an inversion. Funding source: the local government contributes 8,410 per student. State government provides 8,813 per student, and federal dollars supply 2,508 per pupil. The GDP proportion K through 12 funding accounts roughly 0.85 of the total U.S. gross domestic product. So now global standing. Yeah, this is what I want to see here because we're going to have to look this up again because they're going to. So part of the problem with the education, it's mostly indoctrination. Our public school systems are not good. We're not efficient. The teachers are always bitching. They don't have enough money. They don't get paid enough, but they also don't do a great job either. And it's partly not all their fault. It's really a lose-lose situation. They don't get enough money. The kids are bastards. The schools are overcrowded. The parents don't teach them anything. I know someone that worked with children, and they were in, like, kindergarten, first grade level, and they weren't even able to really, like, tie their shoes, read, wipe their own ass, or anything. They're almost like an invalid, and that's part of the parents' fault. So it's a twofold issue that we'll talk about tonight. Part of it's the parents. Really, most of it is really the parents, to be honest with you. But the teachers are also not that great either. I don't remember having any good teachers growing up. I left school at a young age. I hated school. I didn't like it. Um, it's more of an indoctrination thing. There's a quote from J.P. Morgan. So a lot of our books too are basically propaganda books. So most of our school books that we've used in the public school system and stuff are made actually by J.P. Morgan and his cronies. J.P. Morgan has a really good quote saying, "I don't want a nation of learners. I want a nation of workers." So part of the school system that in the past is they want you to be a factory worker, work at manufacturing, be a shift worker, be a sheep essentially. So a lot of how you're educated, what you're taught about, the way they teach it to you, the order they teach it to you, the depth they teach to you in the public school system is just slop. It's not really that good. They don't teach any critical thinking whatsoever. If you do think critically and speak up, hello, Keyshawn. If you do think critically and speak up, you actually get roasted, and they try to humiliate you and say that you're wrong and everything like that. It's just not good. So we really have a major problem here. And the private schools are very expensive. They're really expensive. Um, a lot of people are starting to have to go to homeschooling because the public school system it's so cooked. The public school system is really, really cooked. And and I don't need a statistic to tell me that it's good. Like, these statistics here are not really going to tell me if it's good or not. If you go up to the average highly educated person and ask them a few basic questions, or ask them to think outside the box, or say, where is such and such country on a map or anything, they don't really know. A lot of people don't really know. They have the title of being educated, but part of what the education is simply just repeating information. So a lot of people have got through school just simply repeating information. And now it's even worse because you can use Chat GPT, AI, other things to fake your way through school. And I don't knock anyone's hustle for doing that, but the problem is when it comes to being on the job and actually having to produce and things like this, they don't actually really know anything. So that's the problem, is so the fruit that we bear is not really that good. Um and that's what we're starting to see now, and we're too codependent on the technology to think for us a little bit. So it's really going to start to have a lot of momentum and going the wrong way. This is the beginning of how idiocracy will start, is things like this. So I want to say, so let's put in the chat and do a little vote here on how much you think the responsibility is on the parents. Well, it's 100% responsibility on the parents in one way, is how I say it. But how much of the learning process you think? So for parents, so I'll give you an example what I mean. Parent 60, teacher 40. I think this is kind of what is about realistic. Wow, how the heck did that YouTube reject that content? P 60, T 40. Let me try that again. Wow. YouTube is rejecting the comment when I put in P60. So parents, let me try this again. P-A-R. Parent 60, teacher 40. So I would say this is a decent ratio that's realistic. Um, when you're sending your kids to the public school system, I mean, you're not there to control what they see, who they talk to, who the teachers are, what they're teaching, how they're teaching it, things of this nature. So I think this is a realistic ratio up
Hmm.
here. And I think that we need to really, it's 100% on the parents is one school of looking at it. But I think this is more of what the real world is going to say. And we are not doing well with education right now. It costs way too much. It's not effective. We're all paying out the ass for it. And it's becoming more of a daycare that ends up degenerating your kid. And we're going from something from middle school to diddle school, from arithmetic to dick. That there's there we're just not doing well with schools here, and they're perverting the kids, sexualizing them, teaching them all this LGBT stuff, things you don't that shouldn't really be taught in school. Those are the things that are prevalent. If you want your child to be touched, you probably send them to school, because that's what's basically happening here. There's an epidemic of these teachers touching students, and most of them are female. It's a big shift. Most of them are female.
Yeah.
And if you go, let me just say one thing, Seagrip, then you can speak. If you go into your local elementary school, middle school, perhaps high school, who is it run by? Women.
Hmm.
The only man there is really probably the janitor, groundskeeper, perhaps the principal. It's mostly run by women now, and they're the ones letting the standard drop, and they just do basically whatever the state tells them to do to get the certain check the certain boxes to pass the kid down the line. But the end product is the kids can barely read, they can't really do math, they don't really know much about the world, except sex and like TikTok dances. And again, a lot of it's on the parents, but they can only control so much if their kid is in a public school.
Mm.
Go ahead, Seagrip. I think you're about to say
You know,
something.
yeah. So I know sometimes I can be critical of my mother, but with that being said, I didn't realize, and please take this, tongue in cheek, but I didn't realize how good I had it until I joined the military and was in active duty. But with that being said, fortunately, my father worked, my mom was stayed home for a good number of years of my life. And I remember disliking her so much because every day when I came home from school, I had to go into the kitchen and do my homework and, my spoken words, my math, all that stuff, while my cousins would be in the other room, the living room, watching Transformers and G.I. Joe after school. And here I am listening to it while I'm there doing my work. And then my mom had to check it before, and then she would check it before I could leave the kitchen. So a lot of times I'll be in the kitchen like an hour, hour and a half, studying everything along those lines. And the result of that was when I graduated, because I was also fortunate to go to Catholic school as well. And when I graduated, I was actually the salutatorian. I had the second highest, I mean, from the whole time in school, I had the highest. I was the second highest. I was a salutatorian, and actually the valedictorian was the friend who I tried to help with rehab that I practically grew up with as well.
Oh, that
But
girl.
yeah, she was the valedictorian, and you know, I didn't have a male. I didn't have male teachers. I think until I got into the 8th grade and until high school. But yeah, the majority of my teachers were women. But with that being said,
For you know, things below 4th grade and stuff, I don't have a problem if it's
mhm,
mostly women. That's fine. Um, and I'm not saying all women are bad teachers, but the results that I'm seeing is not great, and it's mostly all women in there. So it doesn't necessarily mean if it's men in there it will get better, but with all women in there right now, it's not working out well. Like I can probably look up on Google some stats to prove it, but if you were just to go into your local school, like elementary school, middle school, it's mostly all women who are the staff and everything like that. Like the only male is probably really the janitor.
yeah,
And
and
I don't think that's balanced really well. I don't think we need some authoritarian figures in there because that has its own way of teaching. You kind of want to be a little scared of your teachers and be like, oh no, Mister Such and Such is going to come down here. Not to whoop anyone's ass. You can't do that, but they need to have a little bit of that respect. I think when it's the women teachers, they're just not. They're just not getting it done. That's what we're
mhm.
seeing here.
But also, and just to answer Whiteout's question, now I'm talking. All this was after high school. I mean, after elementary school, because Catholic school we went to 8th grade, and then high school, was 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, and then after high school, I went directly into the Army, and I did 4 years active duty, and then came back and joined the National Guard, and then went to college. And it wasn't until my sophomore year that I reconnected with her and saw her and tried to help her. But up until then, I had known her and grew up with her since the 2nd grade. And she went to my sister high school. And so we've known each other our whole lives and literally lived like like a 5-10 minute walk from each other. But that's neither here nor there. But I think what helped me be the student that I was my mom was practically a stay-at-home mom up until I went to high school, and she separated from my stepfather. But up until then, he was the sole provider, and she started working like maybe like 2 years, up until about high school. But because she was a stay-at-home mom, um, it enabled. I think that's one of the reasons why. Because I look at how my life turned out versus how my cousins' lives turned out, and mind you, we practically grew up in the same house, practically ate the same food. But the difference was, I had my father and my mother, while they just had my grandmother because their mother had passed away. And so, so both parents do make a difference. And you're right. In today's world where we got single parent households, well, single mom households primarily,
Yeah.
And they got to go out, work, and provide and take on that masculine role to provide for the family. It's pretty much mission impossible for them. I really can't see how one parent, like if my mom had to work full time, provide for me and my brother and my 2 sisters, and it was just her, there's no way she could have did it, and there's no way she could have stayed on top of me in regards to school and my grades.
Yeah.
And you're right, because it is the parent's responsibility. And this is why, and I don't know if you're going to touch on this later on during your stream, but just because you can raise a child alone doesn't necessarily make it a good idea, or that you should. That you really do need to. And without my father, I know there's no doubt in my mind that I would be a lesser version of the man that I am today. I don't know how my life would have turned out if I didn't have that discipline and that structure. And yeah, I didn't like and I didn't like my mom growing up because of that. But like I said, hindsight being 2020 as an adult, especially when I see how my cousins and them turned out, where they didn't have that same discipline, that structure, a parent that was on top of them in their grades and their learning. And it's that same structure that carried me through high school and then through college. I scored so high on the ASVAB that I could get any job I wanted in the military. So, but yeah, you need both parents. And you're right. And guys, when you think about the school system, there is a dark history to our public education system. A lot of good things can say about it, but in regards to its origins, it wasn't clean. It was about creating a more educated workforce, and to build a workforce that could sit down, follow instructions, and do what they're told.
Yeah, let me see if I can find that J.P. Morgan.
J.P. Morgan, Rockefeller, and
you know who actually made a lot of our books too, and stuff like that was Ghislaine Maxwell's dad and those people.
Oh yeah.
They made a lot of it too, but there's one J.P. Morgan on education. Let me just see this quotes.
And while you're looking that up, because I know now the person I am now, if I, there's still a part of me that is open to having, a kid or two in the next several years. It's possible, but I'm telling you right now, my kid is going to be homeschooled.
Yeah, and a lot of people are going to homeschool, and I think that's a good thing, and it's just a reaction from all the nonsense, the LGBT thing. Even if you want to teach that, if you want to teach the LGBT stuff to your kid at home, you can. That's fine. That's you can do that at homeschool. That's fine. But a lot of people are doing it because they don't want to teach that, and they're starting to see the public school system is bad. This guy put something about the World's Fair here, and I want to comment on that.
And that's also why, I'm so happy that, I see, young men that are a part of this community like Keyshawn, because I'm telling you right now, my brother, and my other brothers out here who are single, no kids, it is so imperative that you be extremely discriminating and selective of the woman that you allow in your life, and even more, the woman that you allow the privilege of carrying your seed and having your child. And so you need to make sure that they have the qualities, the attributes, the mindset, and the discipline, the work ethic, the structure to, help you with your goals, your mission, your purpose, and help you in the vision that you have for your family and your children. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah. I want to comment on that.
And that's the reason why I don't have any kids, because I'm sorry for going long. I was going to say one more thing, because I think I shared this either with you or on AJ Stream. But one of my boys who was in his late 30s, he really wants to have kids. Fantastic uncle, cousin, and really wants to have his own. And and I keep telling, and he was talking to me about me and my age and not having any kids, and I really thought about it, and my response, and finally I said, you know something, the fact of the matter is,
Why are you
I
gay?
haven't found. No, but the fact of the matter, is, I have not met a
I just like
woman.
putting that in. Yeah.
No, but it's true. I have not met a woman that I wanted to
It's a huge responsibility, and you
raise
don't feel much
a child
confidence in
with.
some of these women. Yeah, you don't. They don't seem to take it serious
Mhm.
enough. They just kind of. That's what I'm saying. A lot of people, a lot of women and men, they're just delegating it. Like, oh, we'll just send them to school, and that'll take care of everything. No, that's
No.
not enough.
Not
Unfortunately, other
especially this
countries,
day and
maybe
age.
maybe it is enough. Maybe it is enough because they're more strict. But our
Yeah, if
public
you're in
school
South
system
Korea.
is not doing it. It's just not doing it. So you can't just delegate that out to them. That's why I said, like, right now the ratio is probably 60-40. Really it's mostly it's 80-20. For 80% parents' fault, 20% the kids respond. The kid needs to want to learn and stuff on their own. So it's kind of like that. But as far as the parent versus school system, it's about 60% on the parent, 40% on the school system. But that's only if you're a stellar parent being on top of everything. A lot of people just don't have the time and energy to do it sometimes, even if they really want to.
Yeah,
So
and
it's not easy.
that's why, when you look at, I mentioned Korea, and there's a number of reasons why, there's a number of different reasons, a whole lot why they are significantly under replacement rate. But one of that is, was it the Haiguans? They're private cram schools that these kids, they go to school all day, and then after school they go to these private cram schools. And so a lot of time these kids are literally in school, or from 6 to 9 and stuff like that. And the cost that they put into their children's education.
Yeah. Brian or Brain, goddamn, I always do this. The Brain Tucker. This is just sort of a side note. He said, I grew up in Chicago. School never taught me about the 1893 Chicago World's Fair. Kind of suspicious. Why he's bringing that up is because another thing in school, so school is teaching you foundational things for the future. But when it comes to history, school doesn't do shit. They're useless at it. You ask them about the pyramids, they tell you, oh, they just rolled them the log. They rolled the blocks on logs and stuff like. They don't actually know, but they're doing you a disservice by just repeating it. So you have to go in and repeat false history that you don't know, we don't know, I don't really know it, but they have to go in and repeat a lot of it. So that's what he's talking about here, is that all this old world stuff, some of it we don't know. Like they teach you very, very, very small scale and scope to make America always look the best, to make it well, right now they're maybe doing it so America doesn't look as good for these LGBT teachers, but they're not giving you a good sense of history of the paradigm of everything. They just so that's just another problem where they're doing you a disservice, and that's part of the problem for the teachers. Because I remember asking my teachers about things, um, and they kind of didn't know, and they just told me to shut up and say like what the answer was for that was in the book. And I was like, well, I didn't really understand. Like, I was like, well, I don't believe they made the pyramids this way. And they would argue and say, yes, they are. It's like, yeah, but you actually don't know that. You don't know, but you're telling us to accept that as fact. So that doesn't get you very far. So that's another thing where they kind of do you a disservice too. Georgie's in here all the way from Greece. The obligatory elementary school system introduced as a measure to control the economy in the 19th century, before the children added revenue to the house by working, after they are only expenses. Yeah. Yeah, they would do a lot of farm work and everything. That's why they give you the summer off so you can work more on crops and things like that when we're a little bit more of an agricultural society. Um, but right now, if I had a kid, I would not be sending them to public school. I wouldn't. Now there is homeschool would be ideal, but there is other schools, but they take money. There's private schools, and there's things called Montessori school,
Yeah.
which is basically like, they give you a basic education, but from like, I don't know, uh, sixth grade to high school level, they let you focus, and there's not really, so all the kids are mixed in. There's not really grades per se. Um, but if someone is like, hey, I gravitate towards computers, so they're gonna let them nerd out and mostly focus on computers and developing that. If one of them naturally has a tendency toward art or music, they let them primarily focus on that and hone that skill. So they want you to start reaching some mastery at something and kind of grow that. I like that system a bit more because it seems a little bit more practical. But there are other alternatives to the state school.
Hmm.
It used to be that if you didn't have your kids go to public school, the parents can go to jail. It
Yep.
would actually be a whole thing. So people are starting to realize that the public schools are more just kind of an indoctrination system, a daycare and everything. I'm sure there are some good ones, and it's not all. I am painting it bad, and with a broad brush, because there's broads in there. We're just not doing that great of a job compared to the world stage of education. My friend and business partner lived in Russia, and he came here in college, and he was noticing like everyone's using a calculator for everything. He said like we're not allowed to use calculators in there.
Hmm.
You have to do it the other way. There's kids in elementary school using a calculator now, so it's like, well, why even teach them math? If they're just gonna actually use calculators for stuff, like why even teach it to them? Because they don't like,
Yep.
and that's actually being serious. Like, why don't we teach them something else value or how to program AI or something? Because they're not really going to know it. So we're kind of running into we've lowered that are in there, and it's also the state is trying to hit certain marks to get funding to say, oh, we graduated these people and stuff like that. But the end product after they're out of the 12th grade, they don't give a damn. They don't really care if they can read. A lot of the people graduating don't care if they can read because they're just simply happy to be done with school, and they think they're gonna be able to fudge their way through. A lot of people can kind of cheat their way through school, but once you start getting in the workforce, it's harder and harder. You can maybe do it a little bit, but it becomes harder and harder to do that. And homeschooling. You need the wife to basically stay at home,
Mm.
or one of them to stay at home, or maybe you work from home and do some type of hybrid thing. But it's kind of hard to make that work. But the homeschool kids tend to be much more distinguished, educated, know
Oh
some
yeah.
nuance. If they're not just taught fully slop all the time.
As a matter of fact, and I'm not an expert on this in any way, shape, or form, but a lot of the people that I see online that are doing homeschooling, they are a part of, a structured system that, supplies um, access to the resources and information, milestones, everything along those lines. And I've even seen on YouTube some communities where, children are being homeschooled, but they're able to participate in after school activities of their local public school.
Yeah,
So,
sports and
so your
other
kid,
things. Yeah,
exactly. So
yeah.
your kid can still participate in football, track and field, cheerleading, whatever the case may be. But in a lot of incidences, I do see something consistent that the children that are homeschooled, uh, I do see a common thread, a common pattern where their educational level tends to outpace their public school counterparts.
Yeah, and they're also in an environment that's a little bit less stress. Um, you can learn at your own pace. You know, you don't have all the other pressure of all the kids, and you can actually ask unique questions. I remember in school, I hated it because I would ask a lot of questions, and I wasn't even really being a smartass some of the time. I just was like curious. So that doesn't go well. They just want you to be a repeater. Just shut up and repeat the slop that I've told you. Um, that doesn't foster learning. Like a lot of these people at these public school systems, they are not really paid much. So I kind of see that they don't give a damn. Uh, sometimes they're just simply waiting to get their pension or finish up the school day. So I understand that, but if you have 30 kids in a classroom and one teacher, you're not going to do a quality job.
Hmm.
Mathman writes in, as previously mentioned, I have two teenage boys. My ex and I have homeschooled them from the beginning. They are
Yep.
so much further ahead than their peers. Yeah, because they also are able to learn in a lower stress environment. They're not under these like fluorescent lights. They're not
Hmm.
eating the freaking goy slop, poison ass prison. They're eating like basically prison food. Um, and they have all the girls and everyone distracting them, class clowns and stuff. And they're
Plus, the
not in it.
discipline is there. Plus, the discipline is already there. The discipline and respect is already there. The discipline and
From a
respect
parent.
of from their parents.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, and they can take their time too. I remember when I was doing. Sometimes I'm an overthinker, so when I was doing a test, I took a long time. And they're like, "Well, Joe, you got to go. The next class is starting and stuff like that." And a lot of those things end up hindering somebody. But it's like,
Mm.
well, hey, I'm trying to actually learn this and not just repeat information. That's one thing I noticed. A lot of people sometimes they're just simply repeating the information. They don't really understand how to integrate it and make it work with other things. You end up seeing that a lot. So a lot of times kids in school are just simply racing to do the test as fast as possible when timing really isn't a factor in it. So it's just like, okay, you memorize the answers, but you know, do you really understand it, as much as you could? And they don't really care about that. There is a quote from J.P. Morgan. It says, like, I don't want an educated public. I want a public of workers. So they do shape you to do that. And there's some truth to that. We do want, we used to want people to be, manufacturing. That's why they have the bell go off because it simulates the bell, the buzzer at work. Oh, it's lunch break. Oh, we have to have our lunch at 12 and eat our slop. And we only get
Oh,
30
that's
minutes.
diabolical
We only
when
get
you think
30
about it.
minutes. Yeah, that's why they do that. We only get 30 minutes, so you better shove the food down your pie hole and then go back to your, workstation and stuff like that. Um that's a part of why they do a lot of stuff like that was to I mean, we don't have those manufacturing jobs as much as we used to, but that's kind of why they have it. Like they have the bells to actually like scare you a little bit to shock your nervous system and say like, "Oh crap." It's like a lab rat. That it's a bell that goes off to give you a response to do something. At a homeschool environment, you don't need to do that. Sit down, relax. A lot of these kids at the homeschool, they're not going to have a bunch of the ADD problems and ADHD problems because they're in a comfortable environment. They can be relaxed. They can cut out a lot of distractions. They can take their time with the material. They can ask a shit ton of questions. They can get examples the way that suits them well. Learning should be to suit you as an individual. When you have it, some people are kinesthetic learners, some people are audio learners, some people are visual learners. So if you're a parent, you're going to understand how your kid learns or figure it out. When you're in this public school, you're just kind of a number just going through it. So you're not really going to get as quality of a integration as you could. And that's a big problem. I mean, most people are just trying to get done with school. They're not really trying to get much out of it. They look at learning kind of like a pain in the ass when it should actually be something that you fall in love with and want to develop more. And with homeschooling, it can offer that. And maybe some of these private schools and Montessori schools, too, like, that's why they have them, is because people understand that these public schools kind of suck, or they want a religious component. But the religious component in the public school is the LGBT system. It's the, all that type of stuff. They're more interested in teaching your kid that than actually, math and everything. Um, so that is another aspect to this. Um, so and the a lot of these female teachers are touching students, and they're dropping the standard, and they're not being very professional. This is a one of the ones we're going to cover here. Wife caught in bed with teen student cries to the cops. So this is just a 304 is like, do you want this woman teaching your kids? She's probably not smart anyways. So like the example setting that we have is not good. It's just not working out. We are not, like, the US Department of Education will say, like, we're some of the most educated people and stuff like that. Not really. You can be the most educated, but are you smart and able to think critically and stuff? No. We don't, like, we'll see some of these videos here that kids, they don't know how to read, um and basic things like that, and we're setting them up for failure. And they were just kind of able to cheat their way through school. No one took it serious because the teachers didn't take it serious enough. They don't really have much pride in their work anymore. Uh, yeah, most of the teachers are liberal as hell, and they're mostly women. So you do need a male. You need some men in there too. You need the yin and yang. You need kind of like that shop teacher who's like, "Hey, get your hands off the saw," and shit like that. Like you need a balance of that. You need some authoritarian teachers too sometimes. Whiteout put, I went to a Christian high school, and one of the teachers at my school got fired for having relations with a student, and she was married with children. Well, they're always married with children, these female teachers. So we'll watch a little bit of this, and we'll keep talking about the topic as well.
The interrogation of an Indiana school.
Fair use, law and crime on the case. And we will speed it up a little bit. Law and crime usually doesn't give you copyright stuff.
Secretary, after she was allegedly caught.
And thanks for being here, guys. Like and subscribe if you're new. Tell a friend about it and stuff. And hopefully you guys will take something away from the stream tonight.
By her husband sleeping with an 18-year-old student. But that is just the tip of the iceberg in this shocking story.
Have you had sex with any other students?
Let me, that's a little bit too fast music.
Are you sure about that?
Police say a 17-year-old student came forward as well, claiming that he had a sexual relationship with this secretary just months before.
And how did it all start?
I don't know that you're at this point.
Stand up, turn around, hands on your back.
We have the latest on this disturbing situation as 31-year-old Alicia Hughes sits in jail.
She belongs to the streets.
Community continues to search for answers, as well as a distraught husband now decides.
God, that's another thing too, guys. I'll be honest. I don't respect female teachers. I really think they're hoes, attention hoes. And I've thought that for years before I even saw a lot of these stories. They don't really do that great of a job. Whoever is teaching your kid is a major, major, major deal. You know how they say, like, you are the, like, amalgamation of the 5 people you spend your time with. A teacher is an authority figure and stuff like that. So when their kids are shaping their brain and everything, they are an example setter. They're an authority figure. They're who they kind of take a lot from. And a lot of them are just idiots. They're not, they're not that bright, really.
To allegedly move on. We're on the case presented by Law and Crime. I'm Chris Stewart.
And another thing, a lot of this is not really being reported much. There's not a lot of people Law and Crime is talking about it because they sensationalize it, but they don't. Law and Crime never calls any of these women hoes or anything like that ever. Like, we need to start doing that because these women are not being shamed. They're not getting much consequences for doing this, and they just keep doing it. I don't see a lot of men teachers doing this. Do they do it? Yeah, absolutely. Have they done in the past? Absolutely. Will they do in the future? Yes, absolutely. But right now, it's mostly women doing it. Why? Women are also most of the teachers, and they seem to be doing this all the time.
We've been following the story pretty closely this week out of tiny Randolph County, Indiana. 31-year-old Alicia Hughes is now facing 5 counts of child seduction for allegedly sleeping with a 17-year-old student over a weeks-long period. We just showed you that snippet there.
Now, if she is sleeping with a student, she's not focused on teaching them, really. That's part of the problem. That's what their priorities are.
That newly released interrogation video where Hughes is sitting with a Randolph County investigator, and we'll be exploring the rest of that interview together. But we do have to acknowledge that this arrest did not happen right away. In fact, when police arrived at Hughes's home earlier that same day, which was Valentine's Day, by the way, it was for a completely different reason. So we're going to revisit how we got to this point. And there's a lot to unpack here as we break down what we know about this situation as it continues to develop. Now, in the overnight hours of Valentine's Day, Saturday, February 14th, the Union City Police Department is notified of an...
Oh, yeah. So another thing, too, that I wanted to tell you guys about that was related to the numerology and stuff like that. If you're trying to have kids, people are more fertile on the 5th. So that can mean the 14th. 1 and 4 is 5. The 5th. Remember how I told you number 5 is kind of the number of the hoe, the traveler, and stuff like that. So if you're messing around with a girl, they're more likely to get pregnant on the 5th, almost no matter what. That's just another little numerology fun fact. There's no 32nd day of the month, but any other number that 23 adds to a 5, shit like that. So let's just take it with a grain of salt.
Alleged battery involving 31-year-old Alicia Hughes and her
take it with a grain of sexual assault.
husband. They share 3 young boys.
Oh
together.
my
Now, when
God.
officers arrived on scene, they learned that just hours prior, Hughes' husband walked in on her allegedly having sex with a teenager. He was 18 years old, but he was also a student at the public school where she works as a secretary. Police say Hughes' husband confronted the pair and things allegedly got violent. During the alleged altercation, Alicia Hughes was reportedly beaten. Now, what makes this situation even worse is that 18
I don't think she was beaten. I think she wanted to be choked or something like that, and she's going to try to throw the kid under the bus. I haven't seen the story, but I already can see it coming. That's what I kind of think.
Just and she did. I got lost for a second there. The husband walked in and court them.
The husband walked in and maybe started kicking the kid's ass, or they confronted each other. But I think that's because the woman saw that she got busted and she tried to be like, stop. This is a grown woman, a secretary, not even a teacher, so they shouldn't be around each other. That's what I'm saying. Again, this is what I'm talking about. If you go into if you go into your school, elementary school, middle school, high school, who's it going to be running it? Women. This is a woman staff member. So there you go. Even the staff members are doing stuff like that. We've covered this before. The staff members do that. What's her name? Pamela Smart. One of the first episodes they ever did, she was just a teacher's aide, and she was diddling students. So, these women are kind of predators. I almost kind of think men would be less likely to do this, to be honest. But um, it's hard to say.
18-year-old man allegedly involved is actually a student at Randolph Eastern School Corporation. That's the same nearby public school district where Hughes is working as an attendance secretary. And at this point, Hughes's husband allegedly endures the heartbreak of his life just before Valentine's Day. And now you have a battery investigation that is
How sinister is that? So now this woman he's gonna get charges for all that, and she cheated on Valentine's Day. Crazy. Yeah, they do run like a corrupt the police department. Yeah, and I think a lot of the women kind of know what's going on, and they kind of cover it up, or at least are complacent and don't say anything. I think that happens more than you might imagine because no one wants to actually take responsibility for it or throw somebody under the bus or make waves at work, so they just kind of keep their mouth shut. Check the Pledge of Allegiance Day of Columbus, and especially the salute, all introduced in the newly federated U.S. school system. Yeah, they want to brainwash you and stuff like that about everything. It's kind of scary if you think about
is
it.
actively underway, we are told by the Randolph County Sheriff's Department. Now, cheating allegations of this nature, they are shocking, they're heartbreaking. There frankly is no excuse for it.
Again, she's a home wrecker, guys. This is a home wrecker. She was married, had 3 kids. They're just showing 2 here. Married, had 3 kids. No reason to do this at all. These women are home wreckers. The guy was not the home wrecker. He didn't cheat. The woman is. We have to bring back the term home wrecker. Yeah, destroyed a lot of lives. Destroyed a lot of lives.
But then you think about who she was allegedly doing it with, a student who is a teenager but is 18 years old. So at that point, charges were not filed against Hughes because that student was 18 years old and legally was an adult. But
she was grooming him when he was 17, probably even 16 and 15 at the school, probably since he was about 14.
Not where the story ends. And frankly, when it comes to the criminal investigation, it was just beginning because later that same day, a probable cause affidavit revealed that a follow-up investigation was requested on a complaint of child seduction, which in Indiana law means that an adult in authority had sexual contact with a minor. The affidavit says an interview was then conducted at the Union City Police Department with a 17-year-old male victim. Now, here's how a Randolph County investigator described the interview in the court document, quote, JV1, juvenile victim 1, stated that he's a senior at Union City Junior Senior High School. He advised September 2025, he had called the school to report himself absent. The Union City Junior Senior High School attendance secretary, Alicia Hughes, is who JV1 stated he spoke with that day. JV1 stated that shortly after reporting himself as absent with Hughes, he received a text message from an unknown number accusing JV1 of not really being sick. JV1 discovered this was the personal cell number of Hughes. Now, the affidavit continues to go into more detail about Hughes's alleged relationship with the 17-year-old student. It says, quote, JV1 stated that the communication between him and Hughes was just a regular conversation. The two met in the Union City Harder Park.
See how they just frame it? Oh, it's just a regular conversation. We were just hanging out. See the double speak that they do? How is it not going to be a regular conversation?
Just had normal
it's like she's going to admit that it wasn't?
Conversations. JV1 stated that the conversation changed to a sexual nature in late September or early October.
Because you kept talking to him.
JV1 stated
because you're not working and she should have been worrying about her own kids, guys. There's no excuse for this.
Had met Hughes at the Union City Dollar General store. JV1 stated Hughes was wearing a dress and entered his vehicle, straddling him while he was seated in the driver's seat. JV1 undid his pants and the two had sexual intercourse for the first time. I want you to remember that part about Dollar General in the parking lot because that will come up here.
What a dirty ass 304, banging a Dollar General parking lot. What a piece of trash. Again, these kids are here. She doesn't care.
In a little bit when we start to dive into this shocking interrogation video that we have.
I'm going to put a comment in here. She put the hoe in home wrecker. When will we call women home wreckers again? Oops.
Acquired. JV1 stated that he and Hughes had sexual intercourse 4 additional times. That would bring the number to 5. Important when you think of the charges here that Hughes is facing. Once in Hughes's residence, once in JV1's car on the street in front of Hughes's residence, and twice in Harder Park near the soccer field. JV1 stated he ended the sexual relationship around the first week of November. So this went from September of last year to November of last year. All of the sexual encounters occurred within the Union City, Indiana city limits. Now that's
So guys, she lied to her entire family that entire time. Lying to her kids, lying to her husband, lying to the school, lying to everybody.
Student reportedly attends that same school that Hughes works at as a secretary. The whole situation allegedly leads to this violent altercation that leaves Hughes allegedly beaten. But again, no charges have been filed as of yet. We have just been told an investigation into that part of the story is ongoing. Now, an investigator learns that Hughes not only allegedly had sex with one high school student, but 2, and that second student, who Hughes allegedly had sex with on at least 5 occasions, is a minor. And according to
Yep, see? You want to get married to a woman in the West? And this is trying to be a wholesome woman and stuff. Do you want to get married to a woman in the West? I don't. This is what they're doing, guys. This is common. These are just the people who get caught. They like this. They think about it. They watch porn videos about this. They read about this. It's all heading this direction.
Indiana law, 16 years old, that is the legal age of consent. But in this situation, it is illegal for an adult in a position of authority to have sexual contact with anyone under the age of 18. And a school secretary falls under that category. Now, it's still February 14th. Now, later in the afternoon, it's around 4:17, and Hughes herself arrives at the Union.
This is disgusting. And how, let's see how long you think she's going to get in charge. I think she's probably just going to get like 6 months probation. I'll put probation. 6 months probation is what my guess is. Okay, another thing too, we also have to give equal responsibility. It's wrong of the kid. The kid shouldn't be fooling around with a married woman either. You know, he's not completely blameless in this. I think Indiana. So Indiana might be a little bit more conservative. I think it's Indiana, I believe.
City Police Department for an interview, and here is how it started.
Out of all the having to tell one of the most respected people I look at and that I love as a friend and a colleague and someone that has heard a lot of my life issues with my husband. That was a very hard thing I had to tell him.
The audio kind of sucks, guys. I don't know why that is.
And I said, you know, like, my face is very bad and I'm meeting with you and Keith and I need to resign. And he said, I know. And he's like, I'm just, we're going to figure it out. You're going to be strong. It's going to be okay. You know, I'll do my job. I had to write up and figure out my end of things. And we'll be in contact and go from there. And I said, you know, I never meant to be a horrible person. Like, I never meant for it to be like that. And it's no justifying it. But I just found beat up and mentally and physically abused by Bailey for so long. And that attention was there.
She's saying she was abused by her regular husband and the attention was there. See how they try to still try to make herself the victim? They have to make themselves a victim to try to justify the actions as a reaction. You know, this needs to stop, guys. You know, if this is how women are going to act, then we need to take them out of the workplace and schools. Sorry.
And as stupid as that sounds. Now we're not. And now we're here.
Now, the interrogation footage It's tough to decipher at times just because the audio where the microphone must have been in the room, but Hughes appears to begin the interview explaining that she confided in this 18-year-old student that she was allegedly caught sleeping with, telling him about her marital problems, and she said that she needed to resign from the school. She claims that the student reassured her everything would work out. She then tells the
Please.
investigator that while there's no justifying her actions, she claims that she was physically and mentally abused by her husband. We have not heard his side of the story. Now, I want to continue on with the interview. Listen.
Do you think that was the case? Well, if that was the case, there's plenty of other legal actions and things that she could do, because we know that they'll do that. We know that they'll throw the guy under the bus, you know, really, as soon as he does one thing wrong, you know, they'll throw him under the bus. I mean, he's throwing her on, she's throwing him under the bus right now anyways, but if he did something wrong, she'd be like, oh, I'll take the kids and half the stuff. So she didn't want to do that because she's getting it from all angles.
To this.
So this was
And that husband had to go bang his wife after these kids were nutting in her. It's disgusting. Yeah.
going on since December.
Yeah, but like, I mean, like, the physical thing hasn't been going on, but since like maybe middle, end of January, something like that.
Is this the first time you've had a physical relationship with a student?
This is the third time that I've been with him. Not like before he was 18. Like, this is the third time,
Please. Yeah. Please.
like, this has been with him.
31-year-old Alicia Hughes says that she was allegedly in sexual contact with the 18-year-old student 3 times since January. Now, this in itself is not criminal, but there's no denying it is disturbing. And it always stands out to me in situations like this, where it seems almost unclear whether she knows the amount of trouble that she's in because she is just so conversational and relaxed as she's talking to this member of law enforcement. Now, here is where the investigator brings up the allegations made by the 17-year-old student.
Hey, she thought she was coming clean about it.
She belongs to the streets.
That came into the station earlier that day.
Have you had sex with any other students?
Oh, no.
Are you sure about that?
The name of that 17-year-old was likely redacted from the interview because he's legally a minor, but Hughes then begins to explain her alleged interactions with him.
I had met with him, but wasn't sleeping with him. I wasn't having like an affair like with how emotional I was.
Did you ever send him pictures?
Yes.
But you've never had sex with him?
No.
Never met him at dollar store parking lot?
Yes, I have met him, but I never slept with him.
Busted. Oh, you didn't sleep with him. You just banged him in a car. Okay, that's better.
So what did you do?
I just watched him. I hung out with him. And I was very
See what this double speak is? Oh, I just hung out with him. This is the double speak that they say. They try to lie about it. Hanging out means fucking. That's what it means. I never knew this till it happened to me once. Then a chick I was with said, "Oh, can I hang out with such and such?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." Then I ended up finding. Then I saw that they went to this pizza place, and luckily I had another chick I knew in this pizza place, and I said, "Hey, do they seem like they're on a date or something?" And she said, "Yeah." And at that point, I kind of like understood what I said, but she did ask me permission, but I didn't know that's what hang out meant. So now that that's what hang out means. But see how they can try to, it's a lie. It's double speak.
long.
Okay. So how long did that last?
Mm. Mm. Maybe a couple months, like, but like after school started, I don't even remember exactly, probably September to October, November.
And how did it all start?
I don't even know here at this point.
Maybe at this point, this is where Hughes realizes she could have some very serious legal problems because she tells the investigator that she didn't have sex with the 17-year-old student, but she did admit to allegedly sending him photos and meeting up with him over a weeks-long period. I think this could be important looking at this case going on because of the nature.
So you sent naked pictures to him but you just met up with him and didn't do anything. How about you take care of your kids? You know the 3 kids you have? How about you put your time into them?
Of those photos, whether law enforcement has them, if they're able to extract them from the cell phone of the 17-year-old or from Hughes herself, that could mean some more serious charges added to what she is already facing, potentially including CSAM, child sex abuse material, but we'll see how that part of the story plays out in the days and weeks to come. Now, back to the interrogation video. When the investigator asked how their interactions began, Hughes said she needed a lawyer. And at this point, the investigator had heard enough.
You were under arrest for 5 counts of child seduction.
Vampire.
Stand up, turn around, hands on your back.
I just have surgery here. I'm just letting you know. Okay. I didn't take it. Sorry. My hand was just like, it didn't hurt me. It just like twisted the wrong way.
She belongs to the streets.
Can someone call my mom to get my son?
Hell no. To the no.
We can try to call, contact somebody.
Yeah, my mom is also pregnant. If you could.
She wants to call the 18-year-old kid. Yeah, I don't think the husband was abusive. Even if he was abusive, this is still not the appropriate way to handle it, no matter what. You know what I'm saying? That's not a justification or an excuse.
Good?
Yes. I just couldn't figure out how to.
All right. Just sit down for me. And I'll sure be right back, okay?
We're trying to make a call. And this is what the husband was probably saying.
You will pay for what you've done, and I pray that God send angels to visit vengeance upon you.
Hughes has just been arrested on 5 counts of child endangerment related to 5 occasions that she allegedly had sex with the 17-year-old.
Another thing too, guys, they're trained on this at the school. They go over this time and time again. Don't do anything with the students. This is, they're supposed to be a professional.
Student. Now, one thing we noticed after the investigator walks out of the room, we're watching Hughes here, and it just appears that she's sitting alone, really just her and her thoughts, right? She's wiggling a bit in her seat. And you just have to wonder, is that because the handcuffs are uncomfortable?
Oh, she's trying to get her phone or something.
Is she trying to get out of those handcuffs? We don't know. Now, here's what we do know from the legal side. Hughes was booked into the Randolph County Jail on a $25,000 cash bond, according to the case's court docket. Hughes's initial hearing for February 20th was canceled, but the court found probable cause for her charges. The next hearing is set for April 16th to address pretrial motions. Looking ahead, a pretrial conference was scheduled for May 7th, and a jury trial has been scheduled for June 15th. A no contact order was issued by a judge on February 18th.
So she didn't lose her job.
Including on the condition of pretrial release, though there is no indication that she has been released from jail. Also new on the docket, a divorce case. That was
she was in jail. Okay, my mistake.
Brought by her husband on Wednesday. It is included in the docket a petition for the dissolution of marriage.
Imagine being that guy. Oh, that's tough.
Along with a petition.
He actually should have been hitting her the whole time.
For emergency custody of their 3 children.
Maybe that actually would have helped straighten her out and not have her in this. Yeah. You have one job, take care of the kids and not yours. Don't like it, don't work in education. Yeah, exactly, Lenny. It's not difficult. And she's just a secretary. She's not even interacting with the kids much. It's crazy, yeah. Better than finding out 20 years later. Yeah, it's bad. It's bad. And again, guys, this is part of the education system now in the public school system. They're predators. That's where predators are at the school. They really are. They want you to think it's some creepy guy in a van. No, it's someone like this. We see it time and time and time and time and time again. And they don't even view themselves as a predator. They're like, oh, no, we're just hanging out. I was just sending him some nudes. Like, we're friends on Snapchat. We would talk. We would hang out. Like, that's how they don't even view it as illegal because they don't have any professional standard. It's a bullshit job anyways. They're probably not even really doing anything at work. That's why they have all this time to think about this. And also this too. She valued having sex with these kids more than her own kids.
Mm.
There's no other way of putting it. She valued that more than her own kids, and than the commitment she made in front of God at the marriage
Altar. Yeah.
The altar. Yeah, hands down, hands down. This is where I like some of the Islamic Middle East stuff. They should just throw this woman off a roof or do something like that. They really should.
And in these cases, you have to always think about the kids and the impact
Oh yeah, we have to think about the kids. She didn't think about the kids.
that stories like this and the alleged actions of a parent will have on them for a long time, no matter how this case plays out and whether there is prison time, but we certainly have a long way to go. As of now, a hearing on the provisional order and petition for emergency child custody will take place on Thursday, March 3rd. Now, this case, it involves heartbreak on all sides. You have a husband who is picking up the pieces of a now
What
broken
do you mean heartbreak on all sides? Only one side. See what I'm talking about? They always sugarcoat it. Heartbreak on both. Like, how is it heartbreak on both sides? I hate how they do. I like Law and Crime, but they never want to criticize the woman. Ever.
Well, how much you want to bet the majority of their audience is probably female? I'm just thinking.
Yeah. The women love true crime stuff. They love this, and I guarantee you, some women like this because they're like, "Oh, that's dangerous. That's so sexy." So I think it is making the appeal of it go up. Women really want someone to kind of like stalk them and murder them. There's some weird type of fetish about that. Look at these books, 50 Shades of Grey, Twilight, things like that. I don't know why they like it. I think they like the danger of it, or lying, or maybe the degeneracy of it. These kids weren't good enough for her, guys. These kids and family were not good enough for her. So she had to go and do this. And this happens a lot. That's why we need to bring back the word homewrecker. If I get, so I'm going to have the ability to sell like t-shirts and mugs and stuff like that. And I may make a shirt that says bring back the term homewrecker. Because that's what she did. She she wrecked the home. She did a lot. The husband thought something was going on, I bet, and she gaslit him out of it. She had to make up some good lies to tell him to get away from it. Yeah, exactly. He's at home probably watching the 3 kids after work, and she says she's going to like a yoga class or something like that, and she's going to fuck at a Dollar General parking lot. Which that she probably like saw on Snapchat that he was going there or something and went over and did it. And it's also, so here's another thing too, that comes down to the parenting and the teaching. The parents of the 18-year-old kid also need to say, don't fool around with married women. That's important too. It's, yeah, he's young, but you also shouldn't be fooling around with married women. That's the point of marriage, is that you're not supposed to do that. So that's also not right either. And he didn't have enough guilt about it, to do that. I'm sure she made it really easy for him, so we're not going to, go and blame him. But that has to be said as well. Don't go, it's just not a good idea to fool around with married women. I've had opportunities to do it, and I didn't. A couple times I found out they were married after the fact, but they kept it hidden from me. And as far as I'm concerned, that's their fault. If you kept it hidden from me, what am I going to do? So, people have no God in their life or fear of God because they're, that's what making the commitment is that, that used to be how you lock a woman down, was get her married. So she says, oh no, I'm married, I can't do anything. That means literally nothing now. In fact, it means they probably want to cheat more.
family. And he
Well, if you think about it, there were a lot of things that were put in place to protect us from the worst aspects of our nature. And so, you had your family, you had the church, you had your community, society, you had laws. There were things that kept our worst natures in check. And now we've removed those guardrails. So you're right. There is no shame. There is no, as a man, if you wanted to get a good woman, you had to have a good reputation. You had to be a provider, a protector, a provisioner, come from a good family. And if you were someone who was, stepping out on your wife, or, then it was like, keep your hands to yourself, society, the community, and the family shamed you for that. And shamed you for that. As a woman, you were suitors were vetted by the men in your family, so that so when you start getting all moist in your nether regions and all tingly, no, he's a bad dude. He's not going to be part of family or anything along those lines. And then on top of that, you were surrounded, you got married, and then guess what? You moved and you first you lived with one or the other family, or you stayed real close. And then when eventually when you were able to get your own place, you moved in a community where you surrounded by other married people. And so these other married women and married men became your families and your community. I mean, a extended part of your community. And those are things that kept you in check. And so, and now we've removed all that. There is no shame. There's no guilt. There's very few ramifications and repercussions. We're just now seeing this more and more. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's becoming much more normalized, and again, because we're not calling women homewrecker. If you call a woman a homewrecker, who was it going to be like, oh, how dare you? It's like, no, how dare you ruin the home? You know what I'm saying? The word homewrecker has more power than more shame than actually wrecking the home.
If you were a homewrecker, you were ostracized.
Yeah, but the men do need to take some accountability as well. You shouldn't be fooling around with married women, no matter what age you are. And especially if she could go to jail too for
But
they do have a little bit of accountability that
I'm gonna use the same argument that these 304s use. Their prefrontal cortex is not fully developed, and and unfortunately, this is a day and age where X is all over the place. It's in daytime television. It's in shows that are designed for teens. Beverly Hills 90210.
90210.
90210 and stuff like that. It's all over the place. And Gossip Girls, Dawson Creek, Percy and his teacher. And so
still the subject of an open.
Sorry, I didn't mean to say that, but
you get surrounded by all of this.
Phones. That's still the parents' responsibility. Part of it. To say like, hey, I'm not going to give my kid a phone till he's 18 or something, or I'm going to give him a flip phone. If he needs to call me, he can. Because this phone will not let him be able to look at pornography and all this other stuff. He'll be fine.
As a matter of fact, with one of my exes,
that's a parenting problem. That's on the parents. Part of that is literally on the parents, and they're going to have to be, hey, I don't want my kid on social media where all these adults can message him and do stuff like that. That's part of the parents' fault. Period. And then they're just going to say, well, kids nowadays, they all have phones. What if he needs to reach out to me? Okay, you can get a flip phone.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine.
As a matter of fact, one of my exes, with her daughter, I can't remember how old her daughter was at the time. Maybe, 10 or 11 or something like that. But we got her a phone, and that phone, it was one of those phones that it could only make calls or get calls. So it can only make calls. So it can only get calls from me, her mother, and her daughter can only call me, her, and her mother. We had grandma. And so we had to program that in. And so all she could call was us and of course emergency services. So and there's
nothing wrong with that. It's really the best thing for that. You like, this is what I'm saying. You have I don't have a kid. It's easy for me to sit here on a computer talking shit about, okay, just get your kid a flip phone. I understand that it's difficult. It's easy just for me to say that, but that's kind of the only thing that you can do. I understand you want your kid to have a phone so you know where they are and they can call for help and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But you can't allow them the ability to access pornography and all this stuff.
Exactly.
Social media is basically pornography and a gateway to it. It is.
Yeah. Also, with that phone, we could track her location, and so we can see where she's at, but we can also see where she's been. And so, and fortunately, unfortunately, how you may put it, the relationship ended before things got.
Was that kind of your idea, Secret, to limit that?
Well, yeah.
I got kind of more the leader, even though it wasn't your.
Plus, plus, like when I upgraded my phone, this was
like a family plan type thing.
Yeah, and so I did. Yeah. I think it was a Verizon at the time, and it had those phones with all the safety features for
kids.
It's
also cheaper. You save money. Yeah. They're going to be fine. They're going to be fine, and they're going to end up probably looking at that stuff anyways. But make it difficult for them.
No, there was no internet on this, and this was before Uber and all this other stuff and everything. Mm-hmm. And so this tells you how long it was ago. So because this day and age, it'd probably be even more difficult because. This day and age, you want your
kid to have, but I'm still saying that's still the problem of the parent.
Oh yeah, you have to.
It still is I understand it's easy for us to say it because we don't have kids. Like if I had a kid, I wouldn't do that. Like I'm not in that situation, but that is almost what has to be done.
Well,
Man writes in. Does anyone remember the episode of Friends when Ross has a high school teacher kissing him and trying to seduce him? If you like, I can try to find a clip. Yeah, I can. I can look for that too. So this has always been an archetype: the teacher, the sexy teacher, the student. And I know college professors and stuff do this all the time. It's degenerate. It's not good. These are places of work. There's supposed to be some decorum in society. And I want you to take a look at something here. Okay? I know I tell you guys to say thank you, China and stuff. Just watch how these kids are. Because this shit isn't happening in China. Watch these. Compare your local retarded Tylenol kid kindergarten compared to this right here. Let me just make sure I have it sped up a bit. I do. Watch this. See how nice and clean everything is?
You know what Chinese kindergartens are like? While kids in other kindergartens eat, sleep, and...
See how the women are sewing? In kindergarten. Women that don't know how to sew now and they're 40.
Play games. Kids in this Chinese kindergarten do laundry and cook, learning self-reliance. They have outdoor stuff.
Learning how to be a woman.
Most proportionate to their height, and they make their own meals every day, from washing and chopping vegetables to cooking.
You hear that?
They eat their own cooked meals with such gusto you'd think they're licking the plates clean. After eating, they voluntarily clean up and even line up to wash.
See this? This is kindergarten for them guys.
This is whoa.
Yeah, and I'll show you other stuff that they do. See how much more ahead of us they are, and how they don't have. See how when I was talking about how they're 5,000 years old and know a little bit more. If we can't have, we'll compare our kindergarten kids to this.
Dishes. The principal assigns tasks based on the kids' interests to foster their hands-on skills. They start working right after meals, making baskets or knitting scarves.
See this? See how nice this is? And they like it.
for themselves and even using sewing machines to make clothes. They embroider, weave mats, and even make their beds. They're taught independence from a young age. The older kids can cook a meal from scratch, and the younger ones are adept at kneading dough and making pancakes, making chefs jealous. They even squeeze their own milk and make juice from scratch. From washing and cutting fruit to the final product, they do it all themselves, with teachers offering guidance.
Look at this.
No,
They
but
have
what about that show? What about that show where they have like the kids, the Asian kids, go to
Assembling blocks
the
and stuff.
supermarket, and then to like the dry cleaner, and I can't remember the name, but you've seen those shows where they had like little Chinese kid walking to the like going to the store by themselves and all this other stuff, and they filmed them.
I don't really
I see
recall it.
I see if I can find the clip and put it in the private chat.
Maybe I've seen it before. So now we'll go to another one, but that's common there, guys. This is what I'm trying to say. Like we're dropping a standard here. So I don't want to do a kung fu school. That's a little bit too. That's not accurate representation.
Kindergarten lunch.
Let me make sure this is sped up here. It is. Now, a little of this might be propaganda, but I don't think all of it is. They're not teaching your kid how to suck dick.
Break.
This is their lunch break, so they're probably taking a nap.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be checking out this video, and honestly,
lunch. Guys, this is mind-blowing. Let's watch them prepare their lunch.
Chinese kindergarten cooking class.
Look at this. You can't get your wife to do this now. That's a hot plate. They're making dumplings and stuff. This is kindergarten. They're actually learning some real world skills. And I've seen stuff where they're like assembling locks and stuff too.
Yeah. And I did put the link in the private chat. The show was called Old Enough. It was on Netflix. I put the link in the chat.
Okay.
The private chat.
Yeah. I just want
like 2
to, I
minutes
don't know
long.
if this is all going to be cooking. But yeah, well, I just want to show a little bit more of this. But do you see what I'm talking about, guys? We can compare this to, like, you can't get a 16-year-old girl to do this stuff. This is their food that they will eat. This is them like making their lunch, teaching them about cooking, the time, timers, numbers.
Chinese kindergarten activities.
All these kind of things. So it's not all shine.
Teaching them to do hair.
Mm-hmm.
This is kindergarten, guys.
Well,
It's school for
what does
content.
Jim
And they're
Rohn,
actually doing work, too.
what does Jim Rohn always says? Children don't lack a capacity to learn; they only lack a teacher.
Yeah. And another thing, they're giving them responsibility. Here, you can't even let kids have scissors, basically. And they're only teaching them how to scissor. Come on now. But it's true. It's true. They teach kids more about scissoring than how to use scissors. And here they're doing hair, a whole bunch of
There are
stuff.
some schools that specialize in this kind of activities and this kind of training to children. But according to the research I did,
I don't know how to clean a fish like this.
that specialize in this kind of activities, and
See this? We don't even know how to do this at our age.
this kind of
You're going to need to be doing this because
Mm-hmm.
the stores are going to be running out of food.
training to children. But according to the research I did, all Chinese schools perform some kind of activities, whether it is volleyball training or basketball training or something like that, or something about cultural or international education.
Kids in this Chinese
Look at this. Learning to play. instead of playing with fake plastic brick, they're doing the real thing. And this kid's probably having a lot of fun and actually learning how the materials work and everything like this, and having some real world responsibility.
Kindergarten do laundry and cook, learning self-reliance. They have outdoor stoves proportionate to their height, and they make their own meals every day, from washing and chopping vegetables to cooking. They eat their own cooked meals with such gusto you'd think they're licking the plates clean. After eating, they voluntarily clean up and even line up to wash dishes. The principal assigns tasks based on the kids' interests to
I mean, this is pretty good stuff, guys.
foster their hands-on skills. They start working right after.
We can't even. We need like 10 insurance advisors to even let them have a sewing machine.
After meals, making baskets or knitting scarves for themselves, and even using sewing machines to make clothes. They embroider, weave mats, and even make their beds. They're taught independence from a young age. The older kids can cook a meal from scratch, and the younger ones are adept at kneading dough and making pancakes, making chefs jealous. They even squeeze their own milk and make juice from scratch. From washing and cutting fruit to the final product, they do it all themselves, with teachers offering guidance. After eating and drinking, they get busy with various activities like embroidery, building walls with mud, making puzzles, drawing, and making decorations. The girls can even practice makeup and hairstyling, becoming professional hairstylists upon graduation. They never skip school because there's just too much to do. Some netizens say this is real hands-on education, unlike other kindergartens where teachers worry about kids getting hurt. Here, they face challenges head-on, with special forces style training, jumping rope while playing basketball, climbing ropes,
And I've seen it where they actually are disassembling weapons and shit.
and building giant Ferris wheels. They learn to ride balance bikes and practice martial arts.
They would never let someone do this here. Never let someone do this here. See how they're teaching them how to deal with falling down and some pain and other things like this. Letting them actually learn. And I guarantee you, the older in the high school and stuff, they're not diddling students. If you diddle a student, you are cooked. You are done. And both the teacher and the student will be done.
There's no crying when dropping kids off. They run straight to class. Fighting over toys? Non-existent. Everyone's too busy with their own tasks to bother with that. This is what childhood memories should be like. If it were your child, would you choose this kind of kindergarten?
See.
Learning how to be self-reliant and
Look at this.
independent. I
Look
honestly
at
love watching
this.
Chinese kindergarten because if you
We are cooked, guys. I'm telling you, we're not as good as we think we are here.
watch the way China is going and how they blew up and how they are like producing almost everything in the
And here we have them doing stripper moves on these ropes.
world. And if you watch that and watch these kind of videos, it all makes sense, like make big sense. But this is not to say that China as a country do not have flaws or do not have people who are not as self-reliant or as capable as what we are seeing, or these children. There must be like people who are not that self-reliant. But guys,
A little bit of this might be somewhat of propaganda, so I will say that. But I don't think all of it is.
we need to give it to them when we see the truth, because honestly,
Like this is propaganda. I don't know, like that might be propaganda. So let me go to private chat. Speed it up to 1.5.
Kids do this? Would you let your kids do this? Bye-bye. In this popular new Netflix show, you can see toddlers running errands all by themselves, not a parent inside.
And they're doing work too. That's another thing. They're getting them to do work, contribute, add value, instead of take value and be a complete hoe.
It's called Old Enough, but many are saying it should be called Not Old Enough.
Introducing the concept to an American audience and sparking plenty of...
And they're old enough. Why? Because they don't have a bunch of diddlers running around and stuff. It's a safer. They shame the teachers who these teachers would never even think of doing anything they do in the United States like that. Never even think of it.
I would not do this. The show is hugely popular in Japan, and now Americans can see it on the streaming service. This 2-year-old goes on a 23-minute walk to buy food and flowers. He sticks out a yellow flag to alert motorists he wants to cross a...
That's going to be a business owner.
...busy highway. Pretty crazy. This 4-year-old girl is scared to leave home alone, but armed with a purse, a shopping bag, and a brave face...
And see how they're teaching them how to be like a traditional woman a little bit.
But resilient. And just think of all the neural connections that are being made right now at this age. All those neural pathways, problem solving, discovery, curiosity, and just trying to figure stuff out.
And adult responsibility, personal responsibility, safety, looking out for cars coming, shit like that. That's neural connections. Here we just have neuro connections, basically. They just teach them how to. No, but seriously, we like groom. There's another video they're going to bring up. Yeah, that's called The Coddling of the American Mind. We've covered that a little bit before, but China's just doing the opposite of it, and that's pretty. Guys, this is pretty impressive. You got to admit this is pretty impressive. Even if it's slightly propaganda, it's still pretty impressive. Do you see one piece of trash on the street here? No. Do you see any homeless bums here? No.
She heads solo to the fish market, and this 3-year-old boy's dad just asked him to fetch his jacket from home, which is a bus ride away. He gets on and off the bus alone. After picking up the jacket, the adorable tot wears it on his bus journey back to dad. While it's shocking many American parents, there are cultural factors to consider.
There definitely is that wow factor. Here in the U.S., we definitely do not give our children that kind of independence. And you could really see through the show that this is their way of life.
We can't give them that independence because it's not as safe on these streets and stuff. That's a problem too.
Of course, these kids aren't really totally alone. There's a camera crew and a producer recording everything. You can see a cameraman right there. And there's no denying seeing little ones do adult things is just plain adorable.
Watching the show brings so much happiness to so many people's faces.
I mean, that's just kindergarten level. The higher levels of education, they are going even harder. That's impressive stuff. Now we go to United States.
I just need to know something for a minute.
Let me just speed it up a little bit more here. Or
why do men have to be so creepy sometimes?
This Georgia high school teacher may have posed that question on social media, but now she is facing charges for allegedly doing something beyond creepy. Danielle Weaver is under arrest for allegedly molesting a student. What more we're learning about
that would not happen in China. And if it did happen, they're gonna like throw them into like a pond of piranhas or something and make everyone watch it and say, you never, ever do this.
But
and there's no reason to do it.
But did you catch what she said earlier? Why do men have to be so creepy? Did you catch that?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. In fact, I think Law and Crime doesn't really care if you do copyright, so let me slow it down a little bit. Yeah, I'll go back and play that. And again, that's what she's focused on. You think in China someone's saying that?
Okay, I just need to know something for a minute. Why do men have to be so creepy?
She has a little bit of herp derp on there too, maybe.
Sometimes.
This Georgia high school teacher may have posed that question on social media, but now she is facing charges for allegedly doing something beyond creepy. Danielle Weaver is under arrest for allegedly molesting a student. What more we're learning about this mom, this wife, this teacher, now an alleged predator. We're on the case presented by Law and Crime.
Every time a mom, a wife, a teacher, every single time. They're always married. Marriage means absolutely nothing here. Absolutely nothing.
Pot, kettle, black. That's all I said. That's all I'm going to say.
Yep.
I'm Chris Stewart.
Pot, kettle, black, teabag by teenager.
Once again, we are talking about a teacher accused of crossing the line with a student in a major way. A teacher, in this case, who appeared to be kind of the fun one in school. We all might have had a teacher like this growing up, the one that shows up full of energy, that makes the process of going to school and learning enjoyable and fun.
A blue raspberry fruit roll up, and I'll put strawberry ice cream in it. It's really good. Listen.
This is our teachers here, guys. Okay, and then this is China. not a bunch of degenerates with teachers. Which just looks like they're just playing basketball or something like that. But it's not a bunch of degenerate teachers. You know, they really have us. They have us kind of beat for a lot of things, guys. You know, I know we're not supposed to like China or anything like that, but they also don't want to show you some of that stuff. Where is it here? And then we have this chick eating just poison food, telling you to mix it with other poison, shitty sugar food.
Crunchy.
Full of energy that makes the process of going to school and learning enjoyable and fun.
A blue raspberry fruit roll up, and I'll put strawberry ice cream in it. It's really good.
And something you didn't cook. It's just slop that you put together. You didn't cook anything because you can't cook because you are cooked.
Listen. Crunchy.
See, do a little 304 dance after eating candy with your mouth open. We are just accepting all this bullshit here. And as men, like, to be honestly, me as a man, so if you go to a zoo, a lot of the zoo animals don't want to reproduce and have babies because they know that they're in a trapped environment. They just don't want to because they just something in their DNA or something they just know. I don't want to have kids here personally. I just see it being a big headache. They can be a blessing, but you got to be a homeschooler. You got to be like a prison guard. You got to watch out for all these creeps. And yeah, you've always had to do these things, but right now it's very, very, very difficult. The food is poison. You know, everyone has a phone. AI is going to be their best friend. They're going to have a little AI buddy, and that's going to be a better friend than you being their real dad. You have all these things to go against, and you know, and that's if you find a really good woman to do it, which is going to be, that's even more laughable. This is going to be this again. This woman has kids. She's a mom. She has a family. She's going to be a homewrecker.
My sweet pregnancy fix on tonight.
So this.
Oh my God.
She belongs to the streets. She belongs to the streets.
This is one of several videos we found of Danielle Weaver on social media. That one is from her TikTok. It really appears that she was active on social media. Weaver was a 9th grade teacher.
Oh. See those eyes there?
You know the thing about a shark, he's got lifeless eyes, black eyes, like a doll's eyes.
At Lee County High School in Leesburg, Georgia, a small town outside the small city of Albany, Georgia. We're talking about 2.5.
This baby wasn't good enough for her that she had to go wreck her home.
2.5 hours rough.
So yeah, we got to make so a couple other things I want to do to the channel. I want to start going with the idea that Yorgi made up, mental militia. I want to do that, and I want to make some shirts that are saying bring back the term homewrecker. Something along that line, because that's going to get some looks, and people should like the term homewrecker. A conservative woman, the right woman, will like the term homewrecker. Most people do not like the term homewrecker. Homewrecker is a bad word. You shouldn't say it. Why? Because so many women and people are just getting divorced, and they end up like if you get a divorce, you're sometimes wrecking your home. And they hate that. They hate it. Just go say the word homewrecker. Just say the word homewrecker next time you're in a casual conversation. Don't even say the context of it. Just say homewrecker. And you may as well be saying the N-word.
From Atlanta. Now, before we get into what we know about the...
Yeah. You could say, like, I put in the hard R in homewrecker or something. Putting the ho and hard R into homewrecker. And make a woman there or something like that, or I don't know. I'm gonna have to get creative, but I want to start maybe making some shirts that have a statement like that, because that's kind of what we need. We need that.
Case against Danielle Weaver. Here's what we're learning about her.
Again, this is an American teacher.
Beyond reportedly being a 9th grade teacher at this public school of roughly 1,400 students,
Wearing yoga pants, being a hoe, dancing for attention, a dancing clown. A dancing clown.
we also have learned that she was married, that she is a mom to 2 children. On social media, she posts pictures with her husband, and he appears to be taking action after Danielle's arrest this month. And we'll talk more about that
You don't say.
in just a moment. And listen, it is always so shocking when you see cases like this, no matter who the person is who is
It's actually not shocking. I'm actually not shocked.
accused, a person who is given a position of trust, in this case, a teacher, and trust that allegedly was violated in a major way. But then on top of it, when you see their home life and you see the fact that they were married, the fact that they have kids, you just wonder how it got allegedly to the point where something like what we're talking about happens. Here is another video from TikTok, and this shows Danielle Weaver dancing with students. And this is a post talking about how students need to be dressing appropriately when they go to school. Now,
Yep. See, look at this. Twerking, being a hoe.
This is a certified hood classic. She belongs to the streets.
at school, Weaver, again, she appeared to be a fun teacher, someone who brought a lot of fun energy to the classroom.
No, she's not being fun. She's being a hoe.
She's posting these TikToks. Seems like she was someone who made herself very accessible, the kind of teacher that doesn't have a massive age gap either between students compared to someone who has taught for decades.
They act the same as the students. Guys, she is not more mature than the students. That's why she's going for 18-year-old boy and stuff, like 17-year-old boy, 16-year-old boy, because she's on that level, basically.
In the classroom. Weaver is 29 years old, and she might be the kind of teacher that a child can relate to and trust.
Hey y'all, so it is 6 o'clock and I am just now getting home from work. So guess what I got?
More slop. That's what I already knew it. Oh wow, more slop. Chicken fillet slop. Have the goy slop. Eat the poison. You like poison, guys? Hi. Let's eat the poison after work.
Chick-fil-A.
Weaver also loved sharing her personal thoughts, personal experiences on social media. Here's another one here.
Okay, I just need to know something for a minute. Why do men have to be so creepy sometimes? I am leaving Burlington. All I have to do is go in there and return something, minding my own business, okay? And then I'm walking into my car, minding my own business. And this man that was walking in just started talking to me like he knew me.
Shaming men.
And asked me, what kind of vape you got? I didn't have nothing in my hands.
Yeah, but talking about being dressed appropriate.
Wait,
yeah.
And did she say what? Did he say he asked her what kind of vape she has?
I don't know. Let me go back.
Okay, I don't know. I thought she said vape.
Probably, yeah. Probably it's a weed pen.
I mean, like he knew me. And asked me, what kind of vape you got?
Yeah, you're right. Yep.
So, guys, you always hear me talk about red flags. And if you don't have red flags in regards to potential people you deal with, then you're doing yourself a major disservice. And I've shared some of my red flags. And one of my many red flags, vapes, but also social media. A person who posts a whole bunch of stuff on social media. That's another one of my red flags. That's why I do a deep dive. Now, it's one thing, social media, yes, it is, but my whole thing, social media should be for family and friends. And what I mean by that is she's not trying to be an influencer. She's not trying to do it for the attention. It's, hey, we just got back from Jamaica, here's some photos, or, I took the kids to the pumpkin patch. This is what we're doing. This is what we did for Halloween. That's this kind of stuff that I'm looking for. But when you're doing thirst traps and you out here, you're dancing, sticking your rump out there, everything along those lines and stuff like this, red flag. So right there, 2 red flags there. The social media and vape.
Yep.
Chicks that do hookah and vape, nah, I'm good.
Yep. Yeah. It's crazy. But it's actually not crazy. This is actually what I expect out of a female married teacher, to be honest with you. This is what I've come to expect about them. You know, this is what I expect from a modern teacher right here.
They did. When I went to school, I gave the teacher an apple. She accepted it. Teacher don't want no goddamn apple. Teacher's a freak now. Apple, nigga. I want some dick, nigga. Can you screw, nigga? You know math? You got 9 inches, nigga?
This is what he's talking about decades ago because he noticed it happening.
Nigga. The teacher, I want a baby. Can you make a baby, nigga? Now, some of you quiet and scared like I'm making this up. You heard about that white woman screwing that 14-year-old boy. Y'all ought to stop being naive like it's me. And then no white women can get crazy. White lady, we know you can get crazy, so we're going to forgive you. Now, you can't go do nothing with him. We're going to let you go now. It wasn't a week. She was up in front of the house giving him here. A freak. And y'all are so naive. School started at 9. Your child was up at 5 in the morning drinking coffee and whistling. He's screwing. Because he's laying pipe. Teacher's a freak.
What, Snowball, what time did you say you used to get up again for school? Just curious.
I was always late. I hated school.
My purse strapped around me. I said,
I had old teachers that were like really just pieces of shit.
he said, what kind of vape you got?
What's wrong with asking that? See how she's like, how dare he ask what type of vape I have? Now I'm going to shame him on social media as best I can. And this is probably after she just hooked up with a 15-year-old kid. He has the audacity to say something like this. The kid was hitting the vape probably too.
I ain't got no vape.
Now, let's get into the case
Please.
against Danielle Weaver and what we know at this point. So details are still coming in on this. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation was called in to investigate, and they keep things very, very tight-lipped when it comes to the investigation into...
Her lips weren't tight.
a particular person, and in this case, it was Danielle Weaver. But they have made it public that she has been arrested and she is facing charges, including a charge of molestation of a child. So let's talk about what we know at this point. So GBI says on February...
This is not what social media is for, guys. If this is the teacher doing this, she should be fired. Encouraging all them to be hoes. Like, what is this if it's not hoeing? It's not like they did some special choreographed dance move. This is just to be a hoe. There's no other reason for it. And the parents should be pissed at the teacher, and the parents should be pissed at the daughters for this, or the son for doing something like this. That's what this is.
Your students, your children should not be friends with their teachers. They should not be social media friends with their teachers.
Nope. Nope.
3rd, Leesburg, Georgia police were called to investigate allegations of inappropriate contact between a teacher and a juvenile student at Lee County High School. GBI says that the teacher was Danielle Weaver. They call her the subject of this investigation. So the next day.
Again, she should be doing work, guys. This is, like, we need to start calling this out. Women need to start calling this out and say, hey, can you stop being a hoe at work? Why don't you go do that with your husband behind closed doors and stuff like that? Instead, you know what I'm saying? You should be working. Like, we pay for this. This is a public, we're paying for this.
February 4th, local police then turned to GBI to come in and investigate. It is unclear what the specific...
Oh, another thing. Did you just hear that? Again, I'm going to start bringing up the numerology more. When did, listen to this. Listen to this.
Danielle Weaver, they call her the subject of this investigation. So the next day, February 4th, local police then turned to GBI.
February 4th. What did I tell you yesterday about number 4? The number of authority when you get caught doing shit. February 4th.
To come in and investigate.
Just so I'm telling you guys, I'm giving some serious knowledge here that February 4th. So though, and I was also thinking of it too. 304. Okay. 3 is that party number, okay? 4 is almost the enemy of it. 0 doesn't mean anything. So 3 and 4 are basically enemies. They add to 7. 7 is kind of a number of bad luck, a little bit. 7 is more of the number of injury. So you're more likely to get injured on the 7th. Your car is more likely to mess up on the 7th. That's why casinos are like, hey, 3 7s is your lucky number. No, it fucking isn't. So it's not necessarily a bad number. It is a little bit for those aspects, I guess. So I just wanted to bring that up. 7 and 9 are days where maybe you don't want to take a ton of risks. Seagrip was a 1. Mathman was a 1. Dante's Inferno was a 1. Our kind of sort of enemy numbers a 9. So we don't want to really do anything too aggressive on a 9-day. So 7 and 9 are days where, like, for example, if I have to do a tree that I'm really nervous about or something like that, I will look at shit like that and maybe try to avoid one of those days if I can. So again, but when did the cops do their thing and she got in trouble and reported? On the 4th. So, take it as you want.
It is unclear what the specifics are at this point of the alleged inappropriate contact between Weaver and the student. All law enforcement is saying is that the student was under the age of 18. It is unclear if the victim was specifically one of Weaver's 9th graders, which would mean they were roughly 14 or
9th grade, 14 or 15.
15 years old. Now, it wasn't until February 17th that GBI filed warrants for Weaver's arrest. And right now she is facing charges of child molestation, as well as a charge, also a felony, of improper sexual contact by employee, agent, or foster parent. These are very serious charges. Now, according to Georgia law, Weaver could face between 5 and 20 years in prison if she was found guilty of that child molestation charge, which is a felony. And she also would potentially have to register as a sex offender. Now, on that improper sexual contact
she is.
charge, that's also a felony. And that could also mean that she would face prison time. She's 29 years old. We'll see how this plays out. This is still very much in the early stages of this investigation, but you think of those sentencing possibilities if this were to go to trial, which would be a long way down the road. It is important to note that GBI is keeping things very close to the vest, and we don't know the specific evidence that law enforcement has on
It's in the South, so they probably hit her pretty good.
Weaver. And as always, these are allegations. She is innocent until proven guilty. There is no doubt, though, that this is shocking for a lot of reasons, that a teacher would even be accused of something like this. It's also unclear.
No, it's not shocking at all. This is actually, if I was a parent, I would almost expect this to happen. And that way you can defend against it, I guess, if that makes any sense.
What went into the investigation between February 3rd and then the 17th when the charges were filed. That is the time frame where GBI, it appears, really sunk their teeth into this investigation and then found enough probable cause to bring charges against Danielle Weaver. Weaver turned herself into the Lee County Jail on February 18th, where she was held on a $50,000 bond. And at this point, local media says that she has been released. Now,
so the husband paid $5,000 because he's a simp. He paid $5,000 to bail her out.
He is considered a former teacher of Lee County High School. In a statement to parents obtained by local TV station WALB, the Lee County school system said this, quote, reports and rumors are circulating concerning alleged inappropriate contact between a teacher and student in a Lee County school system school. We, at the 9th grade campus, can confirm that there is an ongoing legal investigation involving law enforcement concerning the alleged conduct of a former staff member who is no longer working for the district. Upon discovering the allegations, school and district leadership acted immediately to ensure the safety and well-being of students, as well as to conduct a thorough investigation. The individuals who have been directly affected have been contacted. The district will continue to cooperate with law enforcement, as well as with those affected, to ensure that no obstacles to resolving the investigation exist. The safety and well-being of our students remains our highest priority. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. It's important to note that GBI says that the investigation into Danielle Weaver is ongoing. Now, there are mandatory reporting laws in Georgia, like in many states, where people
on hoeing
in schools, they must report if they have reasonable cause to believe that a child has been abused or neglected, and this includes allegations of sexual abuse. GBI has not said how this case was first reported and who came forward with these allegations.
Yeah, I'm starting to think now, if I see a woman
in
doing
Georgia, like in many states, where people in schools, they must
like this,
report if they have reasonable cause to believe that a child has been abused or neglected.
Again, she's lip syncing a song that she didn't sing or create. If I start to see a woman do something like this, that's a huge red flag, a massive red flag.
And this includes allegations of sexual abuse. GBI has not said how this case was first reported and who came forward with these allegations. Now, as we mentioned, Danielle Weaver is not only accused of being an alleged sexual predator, but this is a person who had a home life as a mom and a wife. And it appears that her husband has filed for divorce in the wake of her arrest. The filing was put in on February 19th. That's a day after Weaver turned herself into authorities on those charges, including.
And mark my words, guys, we're going to end up having one of these guys on this show. A guy that had his wife was a teacher and ended up banging a student. They're going to end up coming on a show like this. This will happen. It's going to happen.
Child molestation.
It's just a matter of time.
The document shows that Weaver's husband left her on.
And we're not going to make fun of him. If he comes here, we're not going to make fun of someone like that.
February 5th. They've been separated since then. That is the day right after GBI was called in. The filing also says that the marriage is irretrievably broken. Weaver's husband is now filing for custody of the couple's 2 children and for possession of the couple's home. The divorce filing makes no mention of the criminal case that Danielle Weaver is facing. And as of this morning, this criminal case against Danielle Weaver has not officially been filed. It is unclear when she is next due in court. Joining us now to talk more about this case is Reagan Charleston Thomas, civil litigation attorney. Thank you for being with us.
She's a 304 too, probably.
Here on Law and Crime. I know you investigate cases like this one that we're following today out of Lee County, Georgia. Danielle Weaver, this 29-year-old, she was a 9th grade teacher, now facing some pretty serious charges. There is a lot that we don't know in this case. Some of the specifics have not come out as of yet, but what do you take away from what we do know at this point?
Well, first and foremost, it appears that the mandatory reporting laws and rules have worked. So the school did report to law enforcement, and we don't know when.
See, that's another thing too. They're trying to give credit to it. And notice this girl has some occult stuff here. This is this necklace is kind of a bit of a cult. And these things up here, these angel things, will be like, oh, that's Archangel Michael and Raphael and stuff. I don't know if I trust that stuff anymore. This is a crystal thing here too. So like these people are kind of like that sometimes.
You know, what their level of notice was at this point, though. Had they received prior reports of inappropriate conduct?
And she has her titties basically out.
This teacher, you know, did they report immediately as soon as it was brought to their attention? That is going to be key in understanding what happened. There are not many details that are available at this point.
And again, it's all women at these schools, and I bet they kind of kept it quiet. Lenny was saying earlier he thinks that it's like a corrupt police station. I think they do kind of protect each other like that. Laughing Man, reach out to me on Discord. Let me give you my I have a Discord server now and a new Discord name. My other one got broken. Joe. It's Snowboard Joe 98. I want to see some of your channel and feature your channel on here. Some of the gold melting or copper making and shit like that you do. I want to look into that a little bit.
And
If
but,
you
know,
want.
it does appear that things moving forward are being handled appropriately.
Yeah, because I know from just what the Georgia Bureau of Investigation have said thus far, and they can be very tight-lipped in cases, especially with such a sensitive nature like this one, that initially the school says some information came in on February 3rd about allegations. And then it seems it took a couple of weeks until it was announced that Danielle Weaver was facing these charges, child molestation and improper sexual contact by an employee. And then she ends up bonding out of jail on a $50,000 bond. What do you make of the time frame of a couple of weeks between allegations come in February 3rd and that amount of time until she actually was charged?
I don't know if they would give a bond to a man.
In Georgia.
Well, I'm not sure what kind of investigation takes place. And so you're saying that they reported to law enforcement on February 3rd.
Yeah, according to GBI, it's on February 3rd that the allegations to the school started to come in. And then at that point, but they didn't say.
Yes, then they took action on the 4th. So they they do the communication 3 and then the authoritative action 4 the next day.
The school didn't say, they said they took proper action, but it's unclear whether it was, paid administrative leave, whether it was, I know she's a former teacher as of now, but so many of these districts, they take different approaches when these type of allegations come in. But when you investigate on like a civil side of a case like this, and you see the date that an allegation came in, and then you're following kind of the criminal charges, like what are you looking for in those cases and making sure the school did everything right?
Well, the timeline is crucial. And as soon as any institution is on notice and has notice that there's some conduct that's going on, right, where a student could be or has been sexually abused, there's an issue there. It needs to be resolved immediately. And so as an attorney, looking at these cases, we're always trying to figure out when did the school find out? When were there warning signs? When were there red flags? And when did they investigate on their own?
And that's all women who are all the staff and everything like that. So they often cover up for that.
And that's, that goes to your point. So we're not really sure what kind
If
of.
it was a male teacher or they suspected it, they'd be like, he's a creep. They're just creepy. So they would accuse him. They would accuse a man before holding a woman accountable.
Remedial measures they have internally before they go to law enforcement. But it does seem like that's a longer timeline. I'm uncomfortable with that. I think that, for me, the key question that I'll be asking as this case moves forward and we know more is, what did the school know and when? Were there other reports made? Like what was the level that it had to rise to for the school, for Lee County High School, to go to law enforcement? That's going to be crucial.
And with that, because, this question of the school, but there's so many people within the school district, like how do you find out, within that, the school, under that umbrella, whether it was a teacher, and I'm not saying in this case, but we do see a lot of these cases, and just generally speaking, when you approach a case like this, like how do you figure out, how do you even get access to teachers at this school? How do you get access to other children at this school, other students and parents and people, when a school district, and I'm not saying it's Lee County in this case, but a school district might not want an attorney starting to ask some very uncomfortable questions?
Well, there's nothing they can do about it once a suit is initiated. I mean, there's formal discovery, and once discovery takes place and plaintiffs and parties are serving requests for documents and communications, I mean, that's when you really start to put a roadmap together and finding out what went on. I mean, as an attorney, and especially in these cases, you're often investigating just like law enforcement would, right? You're looking at all of the internal communications, the reports, certainly talking to other parties who were involved or may have witnessed something. But it's, we have to put together the pieces and discover what happened, basically the who, what, when, where, and how. And that's key, because in order to prevent sexual abuse,
The whore, what, when, and wow, and how.
people, and especially these institutions, they have to have policies in place. Their staff has to be trained. And,
And that's another thing. I think that the chain of how they do things in the school is not competent enough. It's not quick enough.
going to be a question that I'm sure everyone's going to be asking about Lee County High School. What did they have in place to prevent the sexual abuse of students?
I'm going to fast forward a little
children in the
bit
school.
and call it a night soon.
Those are things that you'd want to examine. And just like I said earlier, we're looking at this from the same kind of lens, although it's different.
A thing, like how have you seen social media impact these cases when you look at those lines being blurred and that grooming process playing out?
Well, going back to talking about warning signs, teachers contacting students using social media. So they're shifting communication from the academic setting to social media. So it's after hours, using their personal devices, their personal numbers, there's texting, there's messaging, exchange of pictures, whatever it may be. Did the school have a policy in place that prevented employees from contacting students on social media? There are questions that are going to have to be answered.
How soon does the civil side typically begin in a case like this? I mean, there's so much we don't know. We just have what GBI is telling us about Danielle Weaver. We don't know much about, we know that the victim is under the age of 18. Like, how soon does that civil process potentially begin when you have just the beginning of what seems like a criminal investigation?
Well, you have to let the investigation play out and see ultimately what's going to happen first. So it does take time, and we have to, be aware of what's going on in that, and oftentimes wait for investigations to conclude before any civil matters are initiated.
And we'll see what happens next. Very disturbing stories just based off of what we know thus far. And there's so much we still don't know. Reagan Charleston Thomas, civil litigation attorney. Thank you for taking the time to be with us on Law and Crime. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
That will do it for On the Case, presented by Law and Crime.
All right.
Subscribe to us on.
I'm going to call it a night. I'm going to end it on a couple little beats from Evil Eddie, who has made some other music for me in the show. And we will end it with that. And I have to slow this down to the proper speed. So have a great night, guys. I'm going to play some of these songs on the way out.
Met her on a Friday, thought she seemed alright. By Saturday morning, there was already a fight. Phone blowing up every minute of the day. Looking for a reason to be angry anyway. Checking every comment, checking every friend, turning every little thing into the end. Life's too short and the mountain's calling back. Sorry, baby, I got no time for that. not your therapist. I'm not your referee. I'm not gonna spend my life living in insanity. No time for that. No room for the drama. No time for that. I ain't calling your mama. No time for that. Got a life to attack. When the crazy train arrives, I'm stepping off the track. Yeah, no time for that. No time for that. No time for that. No time for that. Every conversation turns into a test. Nothing that I do is ever good enough, I guess. Walking through a minefield every single day. One wrong word and everything explodes away. Trying to build something, trying to move ahead. You just want another argument instead. Got fresh snow waiting in a backpack packed. Sorry, baby, I got no time for that. Saw her at the tavern with a smile so bright, but a flat tattoo shining underneath the lights. No, but Joe took one look and laughed to himself, put his drink down slowly and grabbed something else. He'd seen that movie and he knew the plot. A whole lot of chaos wrapped in what you gotta know.